promulgated regulations for the prevention of these mishaps? Where are the regulations?
Can I ask for your can you give me some recommendations that we can consider?
Yes, criminal prosecutions for fraud and abuse.
We don't have criminal...
Regulations. No, they can't deal with the criminal, but they can deal with the regulations.
What kind of...
regulations?
What kind of
regulations for contractures? What about regulations for decubitus ulcers? What about SO 4648? Have you pushed it? Where are the regulations? Where are the written regulations? So when the law becomes law, what can you do about it? You have the regulations. Where are they?
What is SL, what you were saying?
SO 4648. You should be on top of this. This is a law to promulgate. It's really for you. It directs the Commission of Health to promulgate regulations for the prevention of contractures and decubitus ulcers. For the lady who asked about elderly, this is a major problem in the elderly at hospitals.
You know
Where are your regulations? Where are they?
There are laws on the books, and there are whole departments of people who go out to nursing homes and hospitals to check on people and to check on those kinds of pressure sores.
Where are the regulations?
Unfortunately, we don't have much authority to...
Yes, you do. That's not true. You don't know SO 4648. That tells me you don't know. And you should be on top of this.
It sounds like it's a Senate... SL? What is SL?
SO. It's SO.
What is SO?
This disturbs me because you're attorney for us, right? You know this particular bit of legislation was referred April 2007 to your department.
I have found in my experience that with whatever agencies or lawyers I've dealt with, that I have found that in my own reading, and I've been reading about 50 books because I'm so outraged by what I have been put through, and I find that the knowledge I've built up, and a lot of times I find that I know more about it than they do.
Well, she should know, and I'm here to educate her, because all of us have had someone who's died, have been mistreated, all of us. What about the future? What about me and the rest of these ladies who are going to have the same type of problem? Our family member. Do you know that this particular bill died in the Assembly at the beginning of this year? Are you aware of that?
You know what, sir? You know what? I can't say something. There's no need for you to think that I'm an ignorant lawyer because I don't recognize that particular number. Why don't you just tell me what the name of it is so I know what we're talking about?
I told you it has a bill number. The bill number is SO 4648.
Okay, I will...
And it's amendment for S206 Public Health Law. If that would help you. I don't know if that would help you.
What part of the public health law? An amendment to what part of the public health law?
S206.
There's no S? You mean Section 206?
That's what it says. Amended S206. Public health law.
And what would this do?
It directs the Commission of Health to promulgate regulations, which is what she does. She can lobby for laws, but she can't do anything about laws except for lobbying. But she can promulgate regulations.
Well,
we have a promulgating regulations.
We have a patient bill of rights.
But they don't even have regulations directing the hospitals to do this. So if the doctors are not in compliance, they don't have to follow. They're not even under, there's no regulation saying to kill somebody is against the law according to what this is. She has to promulgate regulations. They're not doing it. I have a whole list of these things that I know they haven't done. If I go down the list, it's just one right after the other. Do you know what AO 9270, what is that? What is it? Hello, is she still there?
I'm still here, but I'm not going to...
Do you know about infections in hospitals and other related facilities?
I'm not going to be quizzed by you. I don't think you called to yell at me.
I'm not yelling. All I'm trying to say is very simply is that we need people in your department to push these regulations for us, and these laws for us, and to promulgate these regulations. If you haven't even started trying to create these regulations, how can the Assembly and the Senate move forward? You should have people lobbying for these things, to try to push these things, because decubitus ulcers and just regular infections in the hospital are part and parcel of the problem that we have. And you don't even have a regulation that describes this at this point. And I find it appalling at this point that you can come on here and don't know anything about this. I can't even understand that. And these are things that are in, these are bills, these are current bills. These aren't old bills. These are last year and this year bills. Where are we with these things?
Sir?
I'd like to know,
Yes.
what about the Joint Commission? How often does the Joint Commission come to the hospital? Do they report to you?
And what's done when the reports are filed?
What happens?
Yeah, what's done? Well, basically, as a group, what we're looking for criminal prosecution for gross negligence, fraud, and abuse, which doesn't happen under the current system, and we're looking for our families to be compensated for injury and wrongful death without having to go through the whole horrors of the civil justice system, which is a horror.
Like I said, we have no criminal authority. If you want
Regulation authority.
If you want criminal prosecution, you have to go either to the United States Attorney or to the Attorney General or to your local district attorney.
I've been to all of them.
done that.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do about it. We don't have any criminal authority. We can't.
Yeah, but
Actually, I
you
have
can
to
develop
point out that
policy.
you're wrong about not having criminal authority. My name is Miss
Yeah,
Gessner.
and that's right. Tell us.
My father was brutally abused at two sister hospitals, and it started with the nosocomial infections that you falsely claim are being investigated because they're not, because he entered one sister hospital with not one nosocomial whatsoever. He wound up brutalized and vented with all kinds of injuries and strapped down like a dog because of the nosocomial infections. I had all the evidence presented to the DOH, and because I had the temerity to criticize the DOH for not citing the hospitals, I was blacklisted and the information was not sent to the DOH. You have a legal obligation when you have black and white evidence of patient abuse to forward it to the DA. That is your legal obligation, so don't tell me otherwise.
My father was tied down, restrained, given antipsychotic medication, Haldol,
My father was held down while he was choking and gagging, kicking and thrashing.
given
I
a
stood there and watched
medication
it.
that caused acute respiratory distress, orders not followed. When he had a temperature of 93 degrees and a heating blanket that never arrived.
And don't tell me you don't have the authority to reopen cases, because I saw in black and white paper lies from your Osmo Watts Leach in the Suffolk office, who wrote one letter to me saying she refused to open it up when I have four medical experts and a funeral director documenting horrific injuries on a legally blind, voiceless, vented man. And she writes one letter to me refusing to open it up, and she writes another letter to the hospital saying we can reopen the case at any time. So I am formally demanding that you reopen my father's case, and I will not take no for an answer.
Homicide. Yeah, there's no statute of limitations on homicide. Ms. Khan, what we're trying to relate to you is that our loved ones are being tortured and killed in New York State, and we believe it's the New York State Department of Health jurisdiction and duty to the people to investigate these atrocities, prosecute these atrocities, and stop it from happening. That's the only way. If you remove a doctor's license, that doctor is free to move to another state and get a license in another state. I believe they do that. Once a doctor has a license in one state, it is a license to kill. They can just use that license to move around, and that's what they do. So without criminal prosecution to act as a deterrent and set an example, there's nothing stopping it. And it is the Department of Health jurisdiction. If you don't feel you have the authority, that needs to change to give you the authority to criminally
They do have
prosecute.
the authority. They're not acting on it. They're willfully, arbitrarily, and capriciously deciding what cases they want to pursue or not, and it's dirty politics.
Have they pursued any cases, except perhaps for that lady who was pregnant and died as a result of a massive hemorrhage, which probably gave rise to the interest in protecting pregnant women or women who are giving birth? Because when a young woman who has 2 children dies, that's a case that a lawyer will take.
Because she has economic value.
That's right. We're talking about people who are over 65 and people who have not yet joined the workforce.
I totally agree with Meryl, who's saying there is no statute of limitations on those acts of criminal acts of abuse and acts of disgusting, callous treatment.
And acts of negligence.
The Holocaust is a